Chapter 68. The Sea Turns. The heartbeat of the eye slowed, not weaker, but deeper, heavier, as if drawing in a long breath. Golden light surged from Oryx's form, rippling outward across the shattered battlefield. The floating platforms bucked and spun, then began melting, their stone and soil flowing upward like reversed waterfalls into the giant's body. The crater floor stretched and curved until it no longer obeyed any logic. The battlefield becoming a vast, circular plain of glimmering golden liquid that shifted beneath their boots. Every step sent ripples across its surface, but instead of spreading evenly, they curled back toward Oryx, feeding him. A new arena. Tillo's eyes darted around. Yeah, this is bad. Brenna's boots sank slightly into the shimmering surface, the weight of her heavy stance holding her steady. Then we make it worse for him. Nessa tested the footing, with a blur of speed, only to find her momentum pulling her toward Oryx, as if the entire arena was a whirlpool in slow motion. Vereza raised her staff, sparks crackling along its length. So now the floor's trying to kill us too. Perfect. The pull, Oryx's many shifting limbs, lashed out, but they weren't aimed to kill outright. Instead, they hooked, pushed, and redirected, driving the group closer to the Colossus's glowing core. The commander moved along the rim of the arena like a shadow, intercepting any attempt to circle away. Every time one of them struck Oryx, the golden sea absorbed the force and sent it back as a shockwave beneath their feet. Counterflow. Vereza stopped time, giving them precious seconds to regroup. We use his own pull, she said quickly. Let it drag us in, but hit hard all at once when we reach him. Tillo, swords on his joints. Nessa, tether strikes. Brenna, you go heavy and anchor the hit. Time snapped back. They let the pull take them, dodging blows just enough to keep moving until the giant loomed overhead like a sun swallowing the sky. The hit. At the exact moment they reached the center, Brenna slammed down, her lead-heavy hammer cracking the golden surface. Tillo's sword stabbed into the shifting seams of Oryx's limbs, holding them apart. Nessa's daggers severed 3 tethers in rapid succession, and Vereza unleashed a fire tornado that tore upward through his core. The golden sea convulsed, breaking its pull for a heartbeat. Oryx's roar shook the warped sky. The change. Then the giant laughed. Good. You've earned to see what lies beneath. The golden liquid beneath them shattered like glass, and they began to fall, not down, but into a vast, impossible void where entire landscapes floated like fragments of forgotten worlds. The commander fell with them, blades ready, as Oryx's colossal form reached through the void after them. Chapter 69. The Void Fight. They fell, but down was a meaningless word here. The sky was beneath them, mountains floated sideways, and rivers poured into nothing. Every heartbeat twisted the world into a new shape, as if Oryx were shuffling reality like cards in his hands. Chunks of cities hung in the air, a half-collapsed bell tower, a marketplace caught mid-explosion, the bow of a ship with its sails forever billowing in a wind that no longer blew. The heroes drifted among these fragments, sometimes falling past them, sometimes finding themselves standing on them for seconds before gravity tilted away again. The hunter and the titan. The commander was relentless, using the floating debris to his advantage, springing from one piece to another to cut them off. Oryx's massive form was never far, sometimes ahead of them, sometimes behind, sometimes to the side, his limbs reaching across impossible distances as though space bent for him. Every strike against Oryx rippled through the void, warping the fragments of the world around them. Sometimes that worked in their favor. Sometimes it trapped them in pockets of slowed time or crushing pressure. Nessa's advantage. Nessa darted between floating shards of reality, her electric speed letting her break through the strange time bubbles Oryx's presence created. She zipped past the commander, striking at a golden tether wrapped around his shoulder. The severed link sparked violently, and for a moment his footing faltered. Keep hitting those tethers, she shouted. They're making him stronger. Brenna anchors. When gravity shifted, Brenna used her control over weight to plant herself on a drifting slab of hearth. Going lead-heavy, she anchored it in place for the others to regroup on, creating a rare moment of stability in the swirling void. Tillo landed beside her, panting. I vote we keep this one from floating away. Oryx strikes. Oryx's voice rolled through the void, shaking the fragments around them. You cling to the broken, I offer you the whole. One colossal hand swept across the space, scattering debris and heroes alike. Vereza stopped time, catching Brenna and Tillo mid-spin, dragging them toward a larger fragment where Nessa was already holding off the commander. When time resumed, the giant's strike passed harmlessly where they had been. Turning the void, Vereza's eyes narrowed. We can use this. How? Tillo asked. By breaking more of it. The plan was dangerous. Use the void's shifting debris as weapons against both Oryx and the commander, timing the blows with the unpredictable swirls of gravity. The question was whether they could control chaos faster than Oryx could rewrite it. Chapter 70, Breaking the Broken. The void churned around them, worlds in pieces tumbling endlessly. A cathedral roof spun past overhead, followed by an upside-down forest, with roots dangling into nothing. The rules of gravity shifted every few seconds, sending fragments crashing into one another before drifting apart again. Vereza grinned. We don't fight on the battlefield anymore. We fight with it. Setting the trap, they split without further discussion. Brenna used her weight control to pin key fragments in place, creating choke points in the drifting debris. Nessa darted between floating chunks, cutting golden tethers that linked Oryx's power to the commander. Tillo marked debris with quick notches, guiding the others where to push when the moment came. Vereza timed her magic with the void's chaotic rhythm, preparing to detonate entire chunks of reality at just the right second. The first strike, a shifting city block spun toward Oryx's reaching limb. Nessa appeared in a blur at its side, cutting it loose from a tether of light that had been slowing it. The fragment immediately accelerated toward the giant. Vereza's fire tornado caught it mid-spin, adding violent force to the impact. The chunk slammed into Oryx's forearm, splintering into molten fragments that burned as they scattered. The giant's roar bent the air. The commander's counter. The raven-helmed warrior leapt between shards, deflecting their attacks and using the void's own momentum to dive at Brenna. But Tillo's floating swords intercepted, locking his blades in a whirling dance that gave Brenna time to shift her weight heavy and slam the fragment she stood on into another. The collision sent shockwaves through the void, forcing the commander to lose footing. Raining ruin, the plan became a rhythm. Lure Oryx into swipes that overextended him, cut tethers to send debris spinning faster, hit them with fire or weight at the exact moment they connected. The giant's movements grew slower, not from weakness, but from the ever-shifting battlefield working against him. Still, each roar from Oryx warped the void further, threatening to collapse their footing entirely. The final setup. They spotted it, the largest fragment yet. A section of mountain with a fortress still clinging to it, drifting in a slow spiral above Oryx's core. Vereza stopped time. This is it. Drop the mountain on him, and we end this phase. Nessa and Tillo moved instantly, severing every last tether holding the mountain's spin. Brenna went heavy to guide its descent. When time resumed, the mountain fell, a final, devastating blow aimed straight at Oryx's heart. Chapter 71, Breaking the Forger. The mountain fragment spun faster and faster as it dropped, its sheer weight bending the strange gravity of the void. Brenna kept her grip, controlling its fall so it stayed true to the path they'd set. Oryx raised a limb the size of a fortress to block, but Tillo's sword swarmed up its length, striking at the seams until golden cracks split across it. Nessa blurred past, severing a tether that anchored Oryx's stance. Vereza, standing on a drifting cathedral spire, unleashed a final blast, fire and lightning arcing into the mountain to ignite its descent. The impact. When it hit, the sound wasn't just heard, it was felt. A shockwave ripped through the void, bending every floating fragment inward for a heartbeat before hurling them outward again. Oryx's roar was like molten metal poured into their minds. Where the mountain struck, his golden light poured out in streams, spraying into the void like liquid fire. The Colossus reeled, his form flickering, parts of him momentarily transparent, revealing endless darkness within. The commander reacts. The raven-helmed commander staggered from the blast, golden threads tearing free from his armor as the connection to Aurochs faltered. He caught himself on a drifting slab of stone, glaring at them with raw fury. "You don't understand," he shouted over the chaos. "Every wound you deal him wounds this world. You're unmaking it." Brenna planted her hammer. "Better no world than your world." Aurochs's retaliation. The giant steadied himself, light flaring, brighter than ever. "I see you now. I will unmake you first." Reality bent violently. Entire fragments of land, buildings, and sky folding inward around them. The heroes found themselves dragged toward a single point, as if the void itself were being crushed into a star. Nessa shouted over the roar, "If he pulls us in, we're done." Viraz's eyes narrowed. "Then we don't let him pull, we push." Chapter 72. Pushing back the tide. The pull was relentless, like being dragged into the heart of a collapsing star. Fragments of worlds scraped past them, bending and twisting as they were drawn into Aurochs's glowing core. Vereza could feel the heat of it now, not like fire, but like molten reality, threatening to burn away every thought and memory. "Hold your ground," Brenna shouted, going lead-heavy until the fragment beneath her groaned under the strain. Her boots sank into the stone, anchoring it against the pull. Anchors and arcs. Nessa blurred from shard to shard, cutting tethers that were feeding the pull's strength. Every strike left her crackling with more and more electricity, arcs leaping from her skin into the golden air. Tillo planted himself beside Brenna, his four swords spinning like windmill blades against the torrent of debris. "Not sure how long I can hold this." "You don't have to," Vereza said, her staff glowing brighter than it ever had before. "We're going to throw it back." Reversal. Vereza timed it with a heartbeat, not theirs, but Aurochs's. As the pull reached its peak, she froze time for just 6 seconds. In that stillness, Brenna shifted her weight to feather light, then slammed to lead heavy, sending a shockwave back along the pull. Nessa positioned herself on a drifting boulder, ready to launch herself straight at Aurochs's core. Tillo's sword stabbed into larger chunks of debris, angling them toward the giant. Vereza drew in every drop of fire and lightning she could muster, pouring it into the largest fragment they had left. When time resumed, the effect was instant. The pull turned into a violent push. The counter-strike debris hurtled back toward Aurochs, carrying with it the heroes' combined fury. Nessa streaked ahead of it all, a bolt of living lightning striking at the same moment Vereza's charged fragments slammed into his core. Aurochs's roar tore through the void, golden light erupting outward in a shockwave that forced the pull to break completely. The lull. For the first time, Aurochs staggered, his form dimmed, flickering between solidity and a shifting outline. The commander looked from Aurochs to the heroes, and for the first time, there was doubt in his eyes. "You're weakening him." Brenna leveled her hammer, "And we're not done yet."